Hey World History, welcome to Unit 16-L1, How to Do CRAAP. All right, learning goals. Students will be able to identify the acronym of CRAAP, and students will be able to understand and practice the basic concepts of CRAAP. So what is CRAAP? That's a good question. So research can be hard to find reliable sources sometimes, so whenever in doubt, use CRAAP. So that stands for Currency, Relevance, Authority, Accuracy, and Purpose. So has anyone ever used CRAAP before in school? Apparently some middle schools may have used it. Look at those happy middle schoolers. All right, so let's start with C, currency. So that is the timeliness of information. So whenever in doubt, ask these questions. When was the information published or posted? Had the information been revised or updated? Does your topic require current information, or will older sources work as well? Are the links on the website still functioning? All right, so let's do an example. So let's pretend my research topic is the 2024 political campaign spending. So I'm going to click on my first example. So for the sake of time here, I'm not actually going to read through the entire article to you, but when you're doing it, make sure you do read through all of your article. So this article here, it says 2008 campaign costliest in U.S. history. Then it goes on to say that the 2008 campaign was the costliest in history with a record-shattering $5.3 billion in spending by candidates, political parties, and interest groups on the congressional and presidential races. All right, so let's go back. When was this information published or posted? So it was published in November of 2008. Had the information been revised or updated? Let's take a look. So this is a news article. Typically, if news articles are revised or updated, it'll say pretty much towards the top, typically under the first big picture or under the title. So it looks like no, it hasn't been updated since 2008. So does your topic require current information, or will older sources work as well? Ooh, that's a good question. So my research topic is about the 2024 political campaign spending. And this is back in 2008. Are the links on the website still functioning? That's a good question. Sometimes there aren't links on the website. As you can see here, there's really nothing like embedded in the text. So it's a little hard to say with this one. So I'll pause here. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of currency? Why or why not? In my opinion, probably not, because my research topic is about the 2024 political campaign spending. And this is an article from 2008. All right, let's look at the next one. So, again, let's pretend that my research topic is the 2024 political campaign spending. Now I'm going to take a look at this. All right, so we have another news article. So, how Harris's campaign spent $277 million in the final weeks. And I'm looking and I'm scrolling and I'm seeing things, and I'm going to pretend that I read it all for time's sake for this video. All right, so looks like it was published back in December of 2024. So, when was the information published or posted? December 2024. Had the information been revised or updated? Usually that'll say about right here in the news article. It looks like it hasn't. Does your topic require current information, or will older sources work as well? Well, considering that I'm talking about the 2024 campaign spending, this is a pretty timely, up-to-date resource. And are the links to the website still functioning? So if I click on this video, it's going to play. So yeah, the links are still functioning. So I'll pause here. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of currency? Why or why not? In my opinion, I'm going to say yeah, because my research topic is about the 2024 political campaign spending. And, well, It was published in 2024, and it's literally about the 2024 campaign. All right, let's move on. Let's go to relevance next. So, relevance is the importance of the information for your needs. So ask yourself these questions. Does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Who is the intended audience? Is the information at an appropriate level? So not too simple to read, yet not too difficult either. Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you will use? And would you be comfortable citing the source in your research paper or project? So let's do an example. All right, let's still pretend that my research topic is the 2024 political campaign spending. So let's go back to my first example. So this is the same article about the 2008 campaign costliest in the US history. So let's ask these questions. Does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Well, it's kind of about the 2008 election. So no, it really doesn't, because mine's about the 2024 election. Who is the attended audience? That's a really good question. So, this is a newspaper article. And as you may know, sometimes newspaper articles can be biased. And I'll give you a source at the end of this example that is really good to look and see like what biasy a newspaper might be kind of leaning towards. But if I read this article, it's pretty factual, just going through the numbers. So, is this information at an appropriate level? So, as I'm reading this, yeah, it's pretty easy to read, not too difficult. Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you'll use? For the sake of time, let's just pretend I have. Would you be comfortable citing the source in your research paper or project? If I was doing a comparison between the 2008 campaign and the 2024 campaign, yeah, I'd use it. But if I'm just talking about the 2024 campaign, probably not. So, would this be a good resource to use in terms of relevance? Why or why not? In my opinion, kind of the same thing with currency. It's a little too old. It's not really about my topic either. All right, let's go back to our other example again. All right, so does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Again, it is about the Harris campaign spending $277 million in the final weeks. This is about the 2024 presidential campaign. So I'm going to say, yeah. Who is the attended audience? So reading through this, it's pretty much the American people, anyone who may be interested in like the money wise of like what goes into a presidential campaign. Is the information at an appropriate level? So as I'm reading through this, yeah, I can read it just fine. It's not too difficult. Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you'll use? Again, for the sake of the time of the video, let's just pretend I have. And would you be comfortable citing the source in your research paper or project? I say I would, because it's about the 2024 campaign, and that's literally what the article is about. All right, so would this be a good resource to use in terms of relevance? Why or why not? In my opinion, yeah, it'd be pretty good, just because it is relevant. It is about the 2024 political campaign. All right, let's move on. Let's do authority. So, authority is the source of the information. So, ask yourself these questions. Who is the author, publisher, source, sponsor? What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Is the author qualified to write on this topic? Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? So, is it like a .com, .edu, .gov, .org, .net? So, let's take a look. Let's pretend that my research topic is about ancient Greece. So let's go for my first example. All right, so I'm on ducksters.com, which I know some of you have used for your Chinese technology project if you were with me for that. So let's ask these questions. Who is the author, publisher, sponsor, source? All right, so it's Ducksters. Let's take a look. Does it say an author anywhere? I'm just scrolling through real fast. Let's see here. Let's click on About Ducksters, shall we? Does it tell me anything? Who the person is writing this? No, it really doesn't give me a name or anything. It just kind of gives me a generic organization. All right. What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Well, it doesn't really say who's writing these. Are they historians? Are they just random people? Like, I don't know. Is the author qualified to write on this topic? Again, we really don't know who the author is. Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? Let's see here. Yeah, there's an email address. It's just kind of a generic one that just kind of goes to the, organization who's making this. And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? Well, it's a .com, so anyone can make a .com website, including me. All right, so let's pause here. Do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? In my opinion, I'd be pretty suspicious. Not really sure where they're getting all this information. I really don't know Dexters. I've never really heard of them before. So I'd probably say no. All right, let's look at a different example. All right, so this person asks, where did ancient Greek kings live? Did they have palaces, personal forts? So I'm on a social media page for this one. So who's the author, publisher, source, or sponsor? Well, it's a social media page, and these are just random users giving information. So what are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Again, it's just a social media page. I have no idea who these guys are. So is the author qualified to write on this topic? Well, I really don't know who the authors are. They're anonymous. Is there contact information, such as a publisher email address? Well, you could message these people, but who knows who they are? And then, does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? Again, it's a social media site, so no. So, do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? For me, I'd say definitely not, especially when it comes to historical content. So you're probably like, wait, why did you take from a social media website? That's a good question. So AI loves to take information from Reddit, Facebook, and other social media pages, although any fool or person can just post on social media. So that's why I did this one, because you will see that AI loves to pull from social media. All right, let's do one more example. Again, let's pretend we're doing ancient Greece. So who's the author, publisher, source, or sponsor? So this one is the Simon dude here. What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? So if I click on him, wow, he's a professor at Oxford in classic and ancient history. Wow. Is the author qualified to write on this topic? I'm going to say yeah, if he's a professor at Oxford. Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? Yeah, so if I go into Britannica itself, it'll have just kind of a generic contact for like the whole organization. I know some of the bigger websites like Britannica, Wikipedia, History.com will probably just have more of the generic email addresses. And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? Well, this is a .com, but it is Britannica. Britannica has been around for many decades. Before this, they made encyclopedias, like books, encyclopedias, and now they're a website. So yeah, I'm going to say that they are a pretty relevant source. So do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of authority? Why or why not? In my opinion, yeah, they're good. Britannica is always a good source. So here is something I want you to know. So for news sources, sometimes it is important to know where those news sources lie in terms of bias. So something that I like to use is all sides. If you're in my trending topics class, you will know that we use all sides quite a bit. And this is just to determine if a news source is biased or not. Um, so with news sources, always kind of look at this. Now, it doesn't mean every single like news article is going to be this kind of bias. But it's always good just to be kind of aware of where these news sources lie. So if you can, if all possible, try to go in these middle three columns. All right, next let's do accuracy. So where does this information come from? Ask yourself these questions. Is the information supported by evidence? Has the information been reviewed or referred? Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? Does the language or tone seem unbiased or free of emotion? And are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? So let's take a look at this one here. Let's pretend again that my topic is about ancient Greece. So is the information supported by evidence? So let's pretend I read through all of this like you should. And going down here, wow, it shows me all these publications about ancient Greece. Huh, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to say, yeah. Has the information been reviewed or referred? Ooh, sometimes this can be kind of hard to tell. So for this website here, this is the University of Pittsburgh, and it doesn't really say if it's been reviewed or referred. So kind of hard to say. Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? Yeah, so it looks like it gives a list of the faculty. So I could probably click on them and they'll give me more information. And also all these publications down here. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. So I'm going to say, yeah, you could verify the information using some of their publications. And does the language or tone seem unbiased or free of emotion? Ooh, that's a good question. So this is the University of Pittsburgh, and it's talking about their program. So they're going to be a little bit biased because they want people to come and study with them at the University of Pittsburgh, but they also do have a lot of just information that they give. So I'm going to say teeny bit bias, but not too bad. And are there any spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? So looking at this, no, there's no errors. So do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of accuracy? Why or why not? All right, let's take a look at another example. All right, this is a Prezi. I don't know. Do y'all even use Prezis anymore? That might be a thing of the past. So let's see here. So this Prezi is about ancient Greece, and it just shows some random videos and maps, and it has some text. Okay, interesting. So let's look. Is there information supported by evidence? Well, looking at the Prezi, they don't really say what sources they're getting their information from. So I'm going to say no. Has the information been reviewed or referred? There's really no way to tell, so kind of unknown. Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? Yeah, I could go in and probably Google all these things, see if they're true or not. Does the language or tone seem unbiased or free of emotion? Well, it's just kind of doing bullet point facts, so I guess there's not a whole lot of text. It's hard to determine. And are there spelling, grammar, and typographical errors? Well, it doesn't look like there's any errors, but hard to say. First of all, there's not a lot of text, and second of all, whoever shows his background did an awful job because you can barely read it. So, do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of accuracy? Why or why not? I'm gonna say no, because anyone can just make a Prezi. All right, let's go on to the last one, purpose. So purpose is the reason for information exists. Ask yourself these questions. What is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Do the authors, sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? And does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings, and impartial? And are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? Ooh, that's a lot. So let's take a look at our example. Let's pretend my research topic was on Wicked, the movie that just came out this past year. So it's good to note that Comcast is the parent company of NBC and Universal. Universal is the company that made the movie Wicked. So let's click on our first example. Let's see here. So this is from a NBC newspaper article. So why Wicked is over the top escaped America needs right now. The musical adaptation is perfectly timed to an American audience eager for distractions after a bruising election cycle and an uncertain aftermath. Oh, all right. So let's pretend I read all this, but of course, for the sake of time for this video, I will just not read it out loud to you right now. So, what is the purpose of this information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? All right, so it's kind of persuasion because it's saying, like, this is the movie you need to go see. It'll, like, rejuvenate your soul. Do the authors / sponsors make their intention or purpose clear? The one thing that I do like about this article is that it does say that the distributor of the film is Universal Pictures, like MSNBC, a unit of NBC Universal. So they do state that their companies are linked. So that's good at least. And does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings and impartial? Well, it's a movie review and there's going to be a lot of opinions. So no. And are the political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, and personal biases? There's definitely personal biases because, again, it is about a movie review. Okay, so do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of purpose? Why or why not? In my opinion, if I wanted to know what like critics were talking about, I would say, yeah, it'd be okay. But the fact that it's like part of the company that published the movie, I would say, no, I'd be pretty hesitant to use this source. All right, now let's look at this next example. So this next example is a opinion from BBC. So BBC is not affiliated anything to do with the movie studio that made Wicked. So, this one says Wicked Review. This drawn out and self important film proves the musical didn't need to split into two parts. All right, so again, for the sake of time, let's pretend that I read this all. So, what is the purpose of this information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Part of it is to entertain, part of it is to persuade. Should I see it? Shouldn't I see this movie? Do the author sponsors make their intention or purpose clear? I mean, according to that title, it sounds like this Nicholas Barber didn't really like the film too much. Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Well, it is a movie review, so probably opinion. And does the point of view appear objective, meaning no personal feelings and impartial? Again, it's a movie review, so there's definitely going to be some opinions. And are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? Again, there will be personal biases because it's a movie review. All right. So, do you think this would be a good source to use in terms of purpose? Why or why not? In my opinion, if you're still doing a research topic about Wicked the movie and you wanted more about like the factual of like the production of the movie, probably wouldn't be great because it is an opinion piece. But let's say you wanted to research more on what critics said about the movie, then yeah, you could probably use it. I'll say this one is probably a better source to use than this one, just because this one was a newspaper article from NBC, which is partnered with Universal Studios, versus this one is the BBC, so it's totally on its own. All right. Holy crap. That was a lot of information. So, do you have any questions about what we just talked about? And if none, you can just type none. And if any questions do come up later, email me. I'm more than happy to help you. All right, let's wrap this up. Today, we learned about currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Next up, you're going to do U16-L2 CRAAP practice. So let's take a look at that worksheet real quick. All right, so directions. Let's practice using CRAAP. Pretend you're researching about an ancient Roman Colosseum. Below are 3 websites. Choose one of the 3 websites to view and then answer the CRAAP questions for one of your chosen websites. Okay, again, just choose one website. Here's my example here. So no, you can't do this website because it's my example. So you'll see here that there's a bunch of questions. These are the questions that we just went through in the slideshow. You're going to take a look at your whichever website you want to choose. Again, there's 3 of them you can choose from. The other 2 are down here. And then you're going to answer the questions over in this box here. And these are all the questions we just went through on the slideshow. All right. Again, if you have questions, comments, or want to learn more, email us to let us know. After you're done doing the U16-L2 CRAAP practice, you're going to do U16-L3, how to use Perplexity AI. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.